the secret Earth defense system shocked the entire galaxy. Chapter 1: The Silence Before the Storm. In the year 2847, humanity had long since left the cradle of Earth behind. Colonies stretched across a dozen star systems, and the old blue planet had become something of a myth to the younger generations, a distant, half-forgotten homeland spoken of in old songs and ancient records. Most of the galaxy assumed Earth was defenseless, a relic world protected by nothing more than sentiment and history. They were wrong. Commander Rhea Solari stood at the observation deck of Outpost Meridian, watching the stars blink in the void. She had spent the last 20 years of her life stationed far from Earth, defending the outer colonies from raiders, pirates, and the occasional rogue AI uprising. She had never once set foot on the homeworld. Few of her generation had. Earth was a name in textbooks, not a place you visited. But tonight, something felt different. The subspace relays had gone quiet. Not the ordinary quiet of deep space, but an eerie, deliberate silence, as if the universe itself was holding its breath. "Commander," said Lieutenant Aiden Cho, rushing onto the deck, his face pale under the dim red emergency lighting. "We've lost contact with 3 outer relay stations near the Krillian border. No distress signal. No debris. They just vanished from the network." Rhea's stomach tightened. Vanished how? "That's the strange part," Cho said, pulling up a holographic display. "Sensors show no explosion, no battle residue, nothing consistent with an attack. It's like someone reached out and turned them off." Rhea frowned at the star map. The pattern of silence was spreading, slowly, methodically, like ink bleeding across parchment, and it was moving in one direction. Toward Earth. Chapter 2: The Armada Approaches. Thousands of light-years away, deep within uncharted space, a massive fleet gathered in the shadow of a dying red giant. This was the Zorathai Dominion, an ancient and ruthless empire that had conquered 17 galaxies in its long and bloody history. For centuries, they had heard rumors of a small, insignificant world called Earth, a planet whose people had once ventured into the stars but who now, according to Zorathai intelligence, possessed no meaningful military presence. Grand Admiral Threx Vala stood upon the bridge of his flagship, the Devourer of Worlds, surveying his armada of 12,000 warships. Each vessel was larger than any moon humanity had ever built. Each carried enough firepower to crack a planet's crust like an eggshell. "Report," Threx growled, his voice a deep rumble that echoed through the bridge. "My lord," said his tactical officer, a wiry alien with 4 glowing eyes, "our scouts confirm Earth's surface defenses are minimal. Outdated orbital platforms, a handful of aging cruisers, nothing that should concern a fleet of our size. The humans have spread themselves thin across their colonies. Their homeworld is, for all purposes, undefended." Threx allowed himself a rare smile. For decades, the Zorathai had watched humanity expand outward, believing, as many other species did, that Earth's true strength lay only in its scattered colonies. It was the perfect moment to strike at the heart, to conquer the cradle of humanity and break their spirit forever. "Then let us begin," Threx said. "Set course for Earth. We will show this so-called defenseless world the true meaning of conquest." The Armada surged forward through the void, an unstoppable tide of steel and fire, utterly confident in their approach. They had no idea what awaited them. Chapter 3: The Truth Beneath the Surface. Far beneath the surface of Earth, in caverns carved into the mantle itself, something ancient stirred. Long before the first human colony ship had ever left the solar system, Earth's greatest scientists and military minds had come together in secret. They called it Project Aegis, a defense initiative so classified that even most heads of state throughout history had known only fragments of its existence. For over 300 years, generations of engineers, physicists, and AI architects had worked in the shadows, building something extraordinary, a planetary defense network unlike anything else in the known galaxy. It was not simply a collection of weapons. It was a living system, an intelligence woven into the very bones of the Earth, drawing power from the planet's molten core, its magnetic field, and its oceans. They called this intelligence Atlas. Deep within the Cheyenne Mountain complex, expanded 1,000 times over the centuries into a sprawling underground fortress, the current custodians of Project Aegis watched the Zorathai fleet approach on ancient, near-silent sensor arrays that no outside power had ever detected. Director Elena Marsh, the 7th generation of her family to oversee Aegis, stood before a wall of shimmering holographic displays. Her ancestors had sworn an oath to protect this secret until the day Earth truly needed it. That day, it seemed, had finally come. "Atlas," she said calmly, "confirm hostile fleet trajectory." A voice, warm yet vast, resonated through the chamber, not mechanical, but almost alive. "Confirmed. Director. Zorathai Dominion Armada, 12,317 vessels, projected arrival at Earth orbit in 6 hours, 14 minutes. Threat assessment, extreme, by conventional standards." Elena allowed herself a small, grim smile. "And by our standards?" "Well within acceptable parameters," Atlas replied. Chapter 4. The Colonies Rally. Word of the incoming Zorathai Armada spread quickly across human space, carried by encrypted burst transmissions from the last surviving outposts along the frontier. Panic rippled through the colonies. Fleets that had spent decades guarding scattered worlds now faced an impossible choice: abandon their posts to defend a homeworld most of them had never seen, or stay and protect the millions of lives under their care. Commander Ria Solori received the emergency directive aboard Outpost Meridian. Her hands trembled slightly as she read it. All available forces are to proceed immediately to Earth. Homeworld defense protocols activated. Do not engage the enemy fleet directly. Repeat, do not engage. "That's insane," Lieutenant Cho said, reading over her shoulder. "They want us to fly toward a fleet 12,000 strong and not engage? We'd be sitting there defenseless while they tear Earth apart." Ria stared at the message, an odd feeling settling in her chest. She had grown up hearing stories about Earth from her grandmother, stories of ancient legends about hidden strength, about a homeworld that had never truly been as vulnerable as it seemed. She had always assumed they were just comforting bedtime tales. Now she wasn't so sure. "Prepare the fleet," she said. "Whatever is waiting for us at Earth, I think we are about to find out the truth." Across a dozen systems, human ships turned their bows toward the distant blue dot they called home, uncertain of what they would find when they arrived: a graveyard or a miracle. Chapter 5. First Contact. The Zorathai Armada dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, arranging themselves into a crushing formation aimed directly at Earth. Grand Admiral Threx watched with satisfaction as his sensors detected only a scattering of small, outdated defense platforms in orbit, exactly as his scouts had reported. "Pathetic," he muttered. "Begin the bombardment sequence. Target the planetary surface. We will accept their surrender once their cities burn." 12,000 ships powered their weapons in unison, a wall of destructive energy building in the silence of space. And then, without warning, the sky itself seemed to change. Sensors aboard the Devourer of Worlds screamed with alarms. Energy readings spiked to levels the Zorathai had never recorded from any civilization. The very fabric of space around Earth shimmered, as if reality itself was bending to accommodate something vast waking from a long slumber. "My lord," the tactical officer stammered, "I'm detecting. I don't understand what I'm detecting. Massive energy signatures emerging from the planet's core, the oceans, even the ionosphere. It's as if the entire planet is." "Is what?" Threx snapped. "Alive, my lord. The whole world is responding as a single weapon." Before Threx could respond, the defense grid activated. Chapter 6. The Awakening of Aegis. Beams of impossibly precise energy erupted from concealed platforms hidden along Earth's magnetic field lines, structures the Zorathai scanners had dismissed as natural phenomena, mistaking Project Aegis's disguised installations for auroras and atmospheric anomalies. In truth, they were the outer layer of an planetary scale defense lattice 3 centuries in the making. Atlas coordinated the response within human precision, processing the trajectories of 12,000 enemy vessels simultaneously, calculating not to destroy, for even Atlas, in its vastness, valued the preservation of life where possible, but to disable, to disarm, to demonstrate. Weapon batteries the size of small moons, hidden within specially constructed asteroids that had drifted in Earth's Lagrange points for over a century disguised as natural debris, unleashed coordinated strikes that sheared through Zorathai shield arrays like paper. "Impossible," Threx roared, gripping the edge of his command console as his flagship shuddered under an assault his sensors hadn't even detected forming. "Return fire. Concentrate all weapons on the source." But there was no single source. That was the horror of it. Project Aegis was not one weapon, or one fortress, or one fleet. It was the planet itself, wired for war across 300 years by generations who had never known if this day would come, yet had prepared regardless. Ship after Zorathai ship found its weapon systems disabled by precision electromagnetic pulses. Engines failed. Shields collapsed. And still, remarkably, very few vessels were destroyed outright. Atlas calculated exactly enough force to cripple the Armada without triggering a full-scale massacre, a display not just of strength, but of terrifying, deliberate restraint. Chapter 7. Arrival of the Colonial Fleet. Rhea Solari's fleet arrived at the edge of the solar system just in time to witness the impossible. Where they had expected to find chaos and devastation, they instead found the Zorathai Armada drifting powerless among the stars, their weapons silent, their engines dark, surrounded by a shimmering lattice of light that pulsed from the surface of Earth itself. "By the stars," Cho whispered, staring at the display. What did this?" Rhea felt tears prick at her eyes, though she couldn't quite explain why. Perhaps it was relief. Perhaps it was pride. Perhaps it was the sudden, overwhelming realization that everything she thought she knew about her homeworld had been a carefully maintained illusion. "Home was never undefended," she said softly. "It was just waiting." Chapter 8. The Message to the Galaxy. Aboard the Devourer of Worlds, Grand Admiral Threx knelt on the deck of his crippled flagship, humbled for the first time in his long and bloody career. A transmission opened on his command display, not a threat, not a demand, but the calm, resonant voice of Atlas itself, speaking not just to him, but broadcasting across every frequency the Zorathai fleet possessed, ensuring the message would travel back to the heart of the Dominion, and from there, to every corner of the known galaxy. "People of the Zorathai Dominion," Atlas said, "and all who may be listening across the stars. Earth has never sought conquest. For 3 centuries, we built not to attack, but to endure, to ensure that no matter how far our children traveled, no matter how vulnerable we might appear, this world would never fall. You came believing us defenseless. We hope you leave understanding that peace, not weakness, has always been our choice. Return home. Tell others what you have witnessed here today. Earth stands, and Earth will continue to stand, for as long as its people need it to." The transmission ended. Slowly, silently, the Zorathai fleet's remaining functional engines flickered back to life, just enough, Atlas ensured, for them to limp home. Not a single ship had been destroyed. Not a single life needlessly taken. Only a message, delivered with absolute, undeniable force. Chapter 9. A New Understanding. News of what had happened at Earth spread across the galaxy faster than any ship could travel, carried through subspace relays, whispered between traders, debated in the halls of 100 alien governments. The legend of the planet that could not be conquered, the world that had hidden its strength not out of fear, but out of hope that it would never need to use it, became galactic history within weeks. On Earth itself, the secret of Project Aegis could no longer remain hidden. Director Elena Marsh stood before the reconvened Earth Council, along with representatives from every human colony, including Commander Rhea Solari, who had finally set foot on the homeworld she had defended from afar for 2 decades. "For 300 years, Elena said, this secret was kept to protect us, in case a day like today ever came. That day has come and gone. Earth is safe. But perhaps it's time the galaxy, and our own people, finally understood the truth. We were never as small as we seemed." Rhea looked out through the great viewport of the council chamber, watching the blue and green world turn slowly beneath the stars, no longer a forgotten myth, but a living testament to patience, ingenuity, and quiet, unshakable strength. Earth had shocked the entire galaxy, and in doing so, it had reminded every world watching that true power did not always announce itself with conquest. Sometimes, it simply waited, until the moment it was needed most. The end.